Sovereign Tower is a strange game for me to review, not because it's particularly difficult to understand, but because, on paper, it really shouldn't be my kind of RPG. I like combat systems, I like controlling my characters, choosing abilities, thinking about positioning, and personally handling battles. Sovereign Tower basically gives me none of that. And yet, after reaching around the 11th cycle, every time I had to turn off the PC, I didn't really want to. I wanted to play one more cycle, and then probably another one. So yes, something here clearly works. Developed by Wild Wits Games and published by Curve Games, Sovereign Tower is a management RPG where you take control of a mysterious tower, deal with the problems of the kingdom, manage your knights, and make decisions that can have consequences several cycles later. There is a lot going on, so let me show you exactly how it works. Most cycles begin here, in the throne room. Different people arrive at court asking for your help. You might have a noble presenting a problem, a commoner asking you to intervene in a situation, or somebody introducing an entirely new mission. And naturally, almost every decision has consequences. There are 4 major groups to keep an eye on: the people, the nobles, the scholars, and the merchants. Helping one of them doesn't necessarily make everybody else happy. So, even something that initially looks like a simple dialogue choice can affect your standing with these groups. Unlock a contract, change future events, or influence the type of sovereign you're becoming. Your choices also develop characteristics such as audacity, wisdom, tyranny, and kindness. So, you're not simply choosing between a good answer and a bad answer. You are gradually defining how you want to rule. After the audiences, you can move around the tower and check the different rooms you've unlocked. And this part expands quite a lot as you progress. There's a gallery with a talking stone statue that slowly reveals more about the tower and its powers. You will also unlock other useful areas, including the forge and later the stables. At the forge, you can manage equipment and repair armor, while horses purchased from the stables can also influence the characteristics of your knights. But one of the most important things you can do during this phase is investigate them. Your knights aren't just a collection of basic stats. They have positive and negative traits, personalities, backgrounds, and different characteristics that can make them more or less suitable for specific missions. The problem is that you don't necessarily know everything about them immediately. You can start an investigation during one cycle and then receive more information during the next. And those little details can completely change how you evaluate a knight. Maybe somebody doesn't have the highest numerical stats for a particular contract, but their background makes them perfect for what you're asking them to do. Which brings us to what is probably my favorite part of Sovereign Tower, the round table. This is essentially where your battles happen, not literally, because again, you don't control the fights yourself. Instead, you decide who is going to deal with each problem. Every contract has different requirements. You have stats such as agility, charisma, luck, and magic, and the game gives you an indication of which characteristics are important for that particular assignment. There is also a damage risk, mission duration, possible rewards, and of course the actual description of what you're sending your knights to do. And you really need to read that description. Imagine, for example, that you're sending someone to hunt a dangerous creature. One knight might have excellent basic stats, but another one could have a trait connected to hunting or animals. Suddenly, the obvious choice isn't so obvious anymore. And this is where I spend a lot of my time. I'll check one knight, then another one. Then go back to the first, then I'll read the contract again. Then I realize I need that knight for a completely different mission. And now I have another problem. Some contracts only require one character, but others might need 2, 3, or even 4 knights. So if you send all of your strongest people on one important assignment, you're going to have to deal with whatever else is happening using whoever remains available. It sounds simple, but once several missions are open simultaneously, there is quite a lot to think about. Once everything is assigned, you finish the cycle, and then you discover whether your decisions were actually good. The game shows you what happened during each mission, what influenced the outcome, whether your knights succeeded, and whether they suffered any consequences. Successful knights can gain experience and level up, allowing you to improve their attributes and gradually specialize them. And I really like this structure, because there is always a little moment of tension before ending the cycle. You think you've selected the right person, you've checked the stats, you've considered the traits, you've equipped them properly. Now you just have to see what happens. You can't save the situation through brilliant tactical combat afterward. Your preparation was the tactical part. But Sovereign Tower also has another very interesting mechanic. You can manipulate time. Without going too far into spoiler territory, you'll gain access to a mysterious power that allows you to return to previous events while retaining knowledge of what already happened. So maybe you make a decision and discover that the consequences are terrible. You can potentially go back and approach that situation differently. And the further I went into the game, the more interesting this became. Because we're not only talking about choosing a different dialogue option. Serious things can happen at court. There can be threats, assassinations, and events you might desperately want to prevent. The temptation to rewind time becomes very strong. But the game also suggests that abusing this power may not exactly be a healthy idea for your sovereign. I also appreciate that the knights aren't treated purely as tools for completing contracts. Sometimes they want to speak with you. They have personal problems, conversations, and little moments that help develop your relationship with them. Talking with them can improve loyalty, but more importantly, it makes the whole management system feel less mechanical. One minute, I'm looking at a knight thinking, okay, high agility, good traits, you're going on this mission. Then, a few minutes later, that same character is talking to me about something personal. It gives them more identity. And because understanding their personality can actually help you choose the right knight for a contract, the story and management mechanics work nicely together. The game also becomes more complicated as the cycles pass. Certain story events require specific conditions. You might need enough money, a certain relationship with one of the factions, or another objective completed before a particular cycle. So you eventually start planning ahead. Maybe I shouldn't spend this money now because I know I'm going to need it later. Maybe I need to improve my relationship with the scholars because something important is coming. Maybe I can't send this particular knight away for 3 cycles because I suspect I'll need them soon. That long-term planning is probably where Sovereign Tower surprised me the most. And this brings me back to what I said at the beginning. Normally, this isn't really my genre. When I'm playing an RPG, I usually want combat. I want to control the characters myself. But somehow, I don't miss it as much as I expected. Because the choices I'm making before those missions are interesting enough. I want to know what happens during the next cycle. I want to see whether my knights succeed. I want to discover another trait. I want to know who is going to arrive at court. And I want to see how some decision I made 5 cycles ago is going to come back and cause me problems. That's basically the best compliment I can give Sovereign Tower. it managed to hook somebody who normally wouldn't even put this kind of RPG near the top of his list. If you enjoy management games, narrative RPGs, meaningful decisions, and that dangerous feeling of saying just one more turn, or in this case, just one more cycle, I definitely think Sovereign Tower is worth checking out. I really liked the demo when I originally played it. After spending more time with the full release, I like it even more. As always, let me know what you think about Sovereign Tower in the comments, and especially whether you've already played it. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.